One of the areas that can be confusing for potential applicants and their families is rankings. And why is that? Well, it's understandably so, because if you look at different rankings at both the undergraduate and postgraduate level, you can see that the lists can differ, and sometimes very widely. So let's take an example. If you look at the MBA rankings, Kellogg on Financial Times rankings is somewhere close to number 28, depending which year you look at. And on Business Week, it's near the top of the list. However, most students, alumni of top universities, and employers would agree that Kellogg is at least a top 5 university MBA program globally. And most people would probably say it's a top 3 MBA program globally. So it actually becomes really important to figure out which rankings to use and how to use them. So what is the best strategy? Well, number one, you can look across the rankings, but before you actually start looking across the rankings, understand the criteria that they're using to create these rankings. You may find that the criteria aren't actually the criteria that are important to you, and you may decide not to look at one ranking versus another. Once you've actually narrowed down which rankings to look at, then use it as a way to amass a lot of quantifiable information and leverage that information as you start to create your own list. Next, actually do the research yourself. So don't rely on rankings alone. So particularly where schools may differ. So if something is being ranked much higher on one list than another, then start talking to people who have looked at those schools, who have graduated from those schools, who may have chosen to go to different schools, to understand why they made those decisions, what really is actually happening at these universities, and why they think that this school may or may not be placed where it is. Again, the rationale behind it may be very different to yours, so you need to understand the criteria that they're assessing these universities on. And lastly, actually just create your own list. So earlier we talked about how to select universities. You would have basically created your own criteria of how to select universities. You can now take some information for the rankings and then start plugging how these universities are rating on those specific criteria and create your own top 10 or top 15 or top 20 list.